All right, welcome everybody to our midterm review. This probably won't be too long, a lecture uh, on the midterm itself. So I'm going to give you guys some opportunities to get some class participation points by inventing some fallacious arguments and things like that. So the format of the midterm, I got it open right here on my screen. There are 30 questions, 31 points total. These are, the points are sort of irrelevant almost. It's 5% of your grade, no matter how many points I give it. Once you start the test, you have 120 minutes. The estimated time should take around 45 minutes. My newts to an hour. Based on like past experience with this, that's the average student takes about 45 to an hour. So I've given you guys plenty of time. At the same time, I didn't want to make it unlimited because then you'll just sit there and spend hours on it. You shouldn't. So the test will open. The window opens at noon, and the window closes at midnight on Tuesday. It's very important. This is a hard close. You cannot, start the test 10 minutes before the deadline and then hope to get an extra 2 hours out of it. It will slam shut at midnight on Tuesday. It's open notes, open lecture. You can watch all of my recorded videos, any PowerPoint presentations. It's all good. You cannot talk with other people. That would be cheating. And you cannot use ChatGPT. That would also be cheating. In the previous lecture, I actually went through and counted how many questions there are on each one. And so this might give you some ideas of what you need to practice for, what you should study for. And 6 questions on the theories of truth. And there's 6 theories of truth, right? There's correspondence, coherence, consensus. And those 3 I always have to think about because they all start with coherence, consensus, correspondence, pragmatic, Marxist, and deflationary. Just because there are 6 questions and there's 6 theories of truth does not mean there's one of each. Okay. If I was doing matching or something like that, then it'd probably be one of each. But these are 6 multiple choice questions, and so just because there's 6 questions and 6 theories of truth does not mean each one appears once. Okay. You can have in the past I've had all 6 questions all be pragmatic theory or something like that. So be aware. There are 4 questions on recognizing the form of an argument. Is it modus ponens? Is it modus tollens? Is it affirming the consequent? Is it denying the antecedent? So this is good practice for you, especially since there are 6 questions on invalid and valid later, and some of those are in fact like affirming the consequent or denying the antecedent arguments, right? So is it all multiple choice? Yes, all of it is multiple choice. It's automatically graded. The answers will appear at midnight on Tuesday. So if you do it on Monday, you'll have to wait till Tuesday to see what the answers are. That's obviously so that like student A can't take the test and then hand the questions, hand the answers to student B. Right? So it is all mostly 4 question multiple choice. There are some true and false ones. There's like 4 true and false questions, something like that. And then a few of the multiple choice ones have like 6. Some of them have like more than 4, but it's mostly 4 question, 4 option multiple choice. Okay. So there are 3 points on truth tables. There's 2 questions, 2 questions, and 3 points because one of them is bigger than the other one. And so if you are weak on truth tables, practice with the Zai books. It's got plenty of examples in there on truth tables. Basically, you need to know your ands, your ors, your nots. The truth tables are all fill in the blanks. So there you go. It's not multiple choice. You have to put in true and false for each one. So it's technically multiple choice, but fill in blanks, but it's multiple choice. It's true, false. There you go. Right? So true ended with true is true, that kind of thing. And so you're going to fill in on the truth table, true or false for each of the options. There are 2 questions on Scratch, and these are fairly basic questions, like, what do you click on to play a animation in Scratch? If you want to see questions like what I ask, I've put up 1, 2, 3, 4 practice midterms. So I have posted every question I've ever asked in this class online. All of the previous midterms are open and available for you to look at, and you can take these practice midterms as many times as you want. Every semester I get asked, do I have to take the practice midterm? Please don't ask me that. It's a practice midterm. It's like it's in the name. It's a practice. Like you don't have to do it. But like students see it pop up on their Canvas feed. They're like, do I have to do it? And it's like, it's a practice midterm. You don't have to. Even though it appears to have points, the point category is do not grade. So which doesn't count for your it doesn't count for your final grade at all. So you'll appear to get points for it. It'll appear to be graded, but it won't affect your actual grade in any way. You can take it multiple times. It will keep the highest score as if the highest score matters. It doesn't, but it'll make you feel good about yourself, maybe. I don't know. And you can take the practice midterms as many times as you want. There are 4 of them, so I don't know. I would probably rotate through them rather than do the same one multiple times, but it's up to you. So this is kind of what it looks like, right? So X ORed with Y. Okay, so for this one, X is true, Y is true, so the 2 ORed together is true. True ORed with false is true. Not Y, false, knotted is true. X ORed with Y is this column, so we got a true, ANDed with not Y, so false, ANDed with true is false. True ANDed with true is true. So that's what I mean by it being fill in the blank. You're going to pick true or false for each one of the things. And yeah, I do typically fill in like most of the truth table. At least half the truth tables, I would say, filled in for you already. Yeah, so you can look at these questions. You can get the kinds of ideas of how I ask questions on midterms. It's basically the same as the quizzes. There's no surprises there. One thing to note, though, on the practice midterms is that you'll sometimes see it's Morbin time. You'll sometimes see it refer to like a guest speaker or something like that. Let's see if I can find one. Maybe not on this one. Yeah, but it'll sometimes say like, what did this guest speaker talk about? And obviously, if we haven't had that guest speaker this semester, it's not going to be on the midterm. So don't worry about it. Okay. So if you ever see it referring to something like we didn't do this semester, every semester is different. So don't freak out over it. Just get the question wrong. It doesn't matter. None of the practice ones count for anything. Okay. So yeah, you got over 100 practice questions. Some of these have fallacies on them because, again, every semester the pacing's different. It just kind of depends on how well the class is doing on the quizzes. It controls the pacing. So like maybe this one is pretty close to the current one. But maybe some of the practice midterms might refer to like, equivocation, fallacy, and things like that. There are no fallacy questions on here other than affirming the consequent and denying the antecedent. Okay. What is your pace? You have, 4 minutes per question? Your pace, like compared with other semesters, pretty average, I would say. Pretty run for the money, and also, the issues that we discuss and like the discussion forums and things like that is different. Because what issues are being discussed in society are different. Like ChatGPT wasn't a thing until last November, right? So we didn't talk about ChatGPT a year ago, right? Cancel culture. I think this is the first time we've had a discussion on cancel culture. So it just, the topics under consideration are a little bit different. So, okay. 2 questions on Scratch, and these are pretty straightforward. Like you click on the green flag to hit play. A forever loop is how you loop forever, that kind of stuff. If you've done the Scratch, you should have no problem with that. They're pretty basic. These I expect more students to have trouble with. So that is new for the semester. I don't think any of the practice midterms have these necessarily on it. No, a few of them do. Yeah. But basically, I'll give you a statement that sounds outrageous, and you need to determine true or false. Is it true? In Japan, do people believe that your blood type controls your personality? Do you guys know? And that one is true. In Japan, it's commonly believed your blood type controls your personality. Okay. Ethical systems. So again, there's 5 ethical systems we talk about, which is divine command theory. Let's see where the other ones: Kantian ethics, moral hedonism, virtue ethics, and natural rights theory. 5 questions, 5 ethical theories. Again, that does not mean each one appears once. Don't be fooled. Okay. Students are always like, well, divine command theory hasn't appeared yet, so even though this is clearly utilitarianism, I'm going to pick divine command. No, don't do that. It's entirely possible for me to make all of them divine command theory or something. Okay. So you have to be able to recognize the ethical theory the person's using. Right? So the person will give you a quote, and then you have to say, like, all right, well, generosity is good, and nobody likes a cheapskate. It's possible for me to take it too far and turn it into a vice by giving away all your money and relying on others. So that's clearly virtue ethics, right? None of these questions are trick questions. All of them are pretty straightforward. I kind of worried that I was making it too easy, but, everything's easy for a professor, so I hope you guys don't mind. I just made all the questions as straightforward as I can make them. So don't, necessarily second guess yourself, unless you should. I don't know. Should you second guess yourself? I don't know. You should think about that. In Japan, everyone has to take a class on nuclear physics after the Fukushima incident. That's a good one. Maybe I'll use that on the next year's midterm. Okay. What ethical theory is this person using? Communism is the most ethical economic system because it tries to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. So that's clearly ethical hedonism, right? If you maximize, and minimize pain, that's like, they're straightforward. Like, there you go. The one ethical system that people have trouble with is Kantian ethics, because with Kantian ethics, you try to imagine your actions as universal, and then see if the world's going to fall apart if your action is taken as universal. And so that can sound like utilitarianism, but it's really not, because the question is what your duty is. You're not doing something like, whether or not the thing you do is right or not has entirely to do with, are you following your duty to something, rather than worry about the consequences. But Kantians will imagine their actions as universals, and so that's usually a giveaway that it's a Kantian ethics. I know Chris had a question about that the other day. The person was imagining how horrible the world would be if everybody did the same thing, and that's a Kantian way of looking at the world, figuring out what's right or wrong. Violates the right to own property. So that's clearly a natural rights theory one. Jesus said, boom, divine command theory, right? So what if everyone did it? Kantian ethics. So there's going to be those sorts of questions on the midterm, including not just 5 questions on identify the ethical system, but there are 2 questions on cancel culture. That was kind of the topic under discussion this semester, and it analyzes cancel culture from the lens of the ethical systems we've studied. So really there's like 7 ethical systems questions on there. These 5, though, the topic is cheating on exams, so don't cheat on the exam also, just please. Don't use ChatGPT, don't use other people. Like, it's open notes, open PowerPoint, open videos, you've got plenty of resources. You don't need to cheat. Okay. And then there are 6 questions on invalid, valid, and sound. And so this is the part that students have the most problem with every semester. So we're going to spend, I don't know, the next however many minutes practicing this. And so if you have not gotten your participation grade for the week, now's your opportunity. Okay. So, for example, how do we analyze an argument for valid, invalid, and sound? Let's review. So here we got an argument. All presidents of the United States have been women. Joe Biden, and now a lot of students will stop here and be like, that's wrong. That's false. It's invalid. No, don't do that. Resist. Resist the temptation to just immediately go like wrong. Because whether or not the premises are true or not is step 2. Step 2 is where you look at the truth of the premises. Step 1 doesn't matter. Joe Biden's not a woman. Conclusion, Joe Biden is not a president of the United States. So the first question you ask is, if these 2 premises are both true, must it necessarily, absolutely, positively be true that Joe Biden was not president of the United States? So if all presidents have been women and Joe Biden is not a woman, must it necessarily be true that Joe Biden is not president of the United States? And the answer is yeah, actually. So this is a valid argument. This is not an invalid argument. This is a ChatGPT is sentient, therefore using ChatGPT is cheating. Yeah. Right. So this is a valid argument. Okay. Then the second question is, are both premises true? No. P2 is true. P1 is not true. So this is a valid but not sound argument. Okay. So only after you've determined it's valid do you analyze the premises. This is the part that always gets students. Okay, so let's do a couple here. So everybody prepare yourself for participation grades. And tell me, type, don't hit return, just type, but don't hit return. If this is invalid, valid but not sound, or sound. So let me read it to you. Premise 1. If you attend lecture, you will pass the class. Premise 2. You do not attend lecture. Conclusion. You will not pass the class. I need to get the Gandalf meme up here. Okay, so type your answer, but don't hit return. You will. That's pretty funny. Although that's not probably a sign that students want to see on a midterm review, right? Okay. This is invalid. Good. All right. So 2 students got their participation points in. 3. All right. Too late for everyone else. All right. So what now type? What fallacy is this? There's only 2 fallacies that you need to worry about for this midterm. You don't have to worry about equivocation or fallacy composition. That'll be on the next midterm. I said don't send it. Okay, fine. Hit return, everyone. So which type of argument is this? If you attend lecture, you will pass. You do not attend lecture, you will not pass. Is this modus ponens, modus tollens, affirming the consequent, or denying the antecedent? What form of argument is this? If x is you attend lecture, then y, you will pass. Not x, therefore not y. You're confusing yourself? My advice to you is like, it's like actually make, like cheat sheets, on the 4 forms: modus ponens, modus tollens, affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent. Yeah. I mean, it's not wrong. Rains, it rains. Well, it rains, therefore it rains. Okay, well, strange. If George Washington was assassinated, then he was dead. George Washington is dead, therefore George Washington was assassinated. So that is an affirming the consequent fallacy. It's this one here. Oh no, sorry. This is denying the antecedent. Okay. This is not modus tollens. This is denying the antecedent. The antecedent is you attend lecture. Okay? And we are denying it. We say you do not attend lecture. The conclusion here does not follow from the premises. It is entirely possible that you don't go to any lectures and you still pass the class. Okay? So this is, in fact, a defensive dark arts DA argument. So almost everybody got that wrong. So again, you need to practice this. This is just, here's the form of modus tollens. Here's a form of affirming the consequent. What we had here was denying the antecedent. So premise 1, x implies y. Premise 2, not x. Conclusion, not y. And the last form is modus ponens. Premise 1, x implies y. Premise 2, x. Conclusion, y. So modus tollens and modus ponens are both valid, and denying the antecedent and affirming the consequent are both invalid. These are both fallacies. Okay, let's do the next one. So this time I promise I'll tell you to hit return. So type it up, don't hit return. So toolbar is kind of annoying, but this one here. Okay, all rectangles are squares. X is a square. Therefore, X is rectangle. Is this invalid? Is it valid? Is it sound? Valid but not sound. Sound. Okay, so take a moment, type your answer, but don't hit return. And then when I tell you, hit return. All rectangles are squares. X is a square. Therefore, X is a rectangle. Don't type it. I said don't hit return. Type it, but don't hit return. We'll have everybody hit return at the same time. All rectangles are squares. X is a square. Therefore, X is a rectangle. Okay, hit it. All right, we have a bunch of votes for sound. We have 1 vote for invalid. This is invalid. All humans are mammals. X is a mammal, therefore X is human. No. Doesn't work. Even if premise 1 and premise 2 are both true, the conclusion does not follow from that. And one of the best ways of figuring this out is by substituting in different words, right? All cats are mammals. X is a cat, or X is a mammal. Therefore, X is a cat. No, not true. If you said if X is a cat, then X is a mammal, that would be true. But if all cats are mammals, and I say, hey, I've got a mammal in my room, you can't just say, well, it must be a cat. I mean, there's gibbons and like lemurs and dolphins and stuff that are all mammals as well. Okay. So this is invalid. The conclusion does not follow from the premise. It's also not sound either, because it is not the case that all rectangles are squares. If the premise is wrong, it cannot be sound. It is, even if the logic worked, it would be valid but not sound, because it is not the case that rectangles are all squares. Some rectangles are squares and not all of them. Okay? All squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. All right, so let's do another one. Premise 1. If you have a fast computer, you must like video games. Premise 2. You have a fast computer. Conclusion, you like video games. All right, so type up your answer here. And it always decides that the conclusion part is part of a bullet list, which is kind of annoying. Okay, so type up your answer. Is this invalid, valid but not sound, or sound? Don't hit return. Don't jump the gun when I say go. On everybody answering it at the same time. That way, students can't like look at the previous answers. I'm gonna agree with everyone else. All right. So I do think there is some of that. If you have a fast computer, then you must like video games. You have a fast computer, therefore, you must like video games. All right. Hit return. See what we got. Valid but not sound, sound, valid, valid, valid but not sound, invalid, valid, sound. See what I mean by, students have the hardest time with this one? Like, if this was an actual midterm question, no more than a third of the students would be getting this right. Because we have about a third of each one. So, also we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 students. 9 students out of the 24 are actually participating. So, there's that too. So this is, if you have a fast computer, then you must like video games. You have a fast computer, you must like video games. What form of argument is this, first of all? This is actually one of the 4 forms over here. If X, then Y. X is true, therefore Y is true. Grant points for participation. Mo. Yes, this is in fact a modus ponens argument, so it is a valid argument. The if you said it's modus tollens, like, where is the denial, right? There's no not anywhere in here, right? It can't possibly be modus tollens. Mo. Eating mom's spaghetti. That's funny. So yeah, this is modus ponens, so it's valid at a minimum. The form of the argument is valid, right? So if premise 1 and premise 2 were both true, the conclusion must be true. It must be true, right? If it is true that people that like fast computers like video games, and you have a fast computer, people that have fast computers like video games, if that's true, and you have a fast computer, you must like video games, absolutely 100% of the time. The conclusion follows from the premises necessarily, that the conclusion must be true when the premises are true. That's what it means to be valid. There's no other possibility. When you're talking about a valid argument, if the premises are true, it must be true. There's no other possible answer. Whereas something like this, if it said it might be a rectangle, then it'd be valid. But It is not always the case that all x are if all x are y and x is a y, that it's a x is an x. Wait, shoot, I used x twice. Right? If all cats are mammals, and I tell you I have a mammal in my room, it is not necessarily the case that what I have in my room is a cat. My thumbs are made of hot dog fingers right now. Okay. Now, is it sound? No. It is certainly not the case that if you have a fast computer, you must like video games. It's probable. I would say most people that have high-end desktops are probably gamers, but there are people that do things like video editing, right? Video editing, game development is extremely demanding on your computer. Most of the upgrades I've put into my machine here are because I teach game development and do game development. So the summer school class I teach every year is what pays for my stupid upgrades to my computer. So, ooh, his CPU is faulty. Oof. Yeah. So you don't necessarily. This is not true. Okay. So it is valid but not sound. All right. So what I'd like for you guys to do now is I'd like for you to all write an argument that is affirming the consequent. So I'll give you a minute on Discord. Don't hit return between each line because I don't want to scroll around and look for premise 1 up here and premise 2 down here and conclusion somewhere off the bottom of the screen. If you hit shift when you hit return on Canvas, you can type multiple lines at the same time. So I want you to type premise 1, something, premise 2, something, conclusion, something. Then hit return. And I will go through and tell you if you got it right or not. So I want you guys to come up with a affirming the consequent fallacy. Okay. So let me pause the stream here, and then I'll give you guys like a minute to write one, then I'll resume. All right, let's take a look. If you practice, you will get better. If X, then Y. You didn't practice, not Y. Therefore, not X. So that is not, in fact, affirming the consequent. What you just did there was denying the antecedent. You said, if you practice, you get better. You said, if you don't practice, then you don't get better. So that was the wrong fallacy. Alex. Alejandro, you are cool if you like Shrek. So if you like Shrek, you are cool. You like Shrek, you were cool. Alejandro, you just gave a modus ponens argument, not a affirming the consequent fallacy. If I attend class, I am learning. I am learning, therefore I attended class. Boom. That is, in fact, a affirming the consequent fallacy. Laura, if I am tired, I will go to sleep. I will go to sleep, therefore I'm tired. Cool. If I study, I will pass the exam. I studied hard. If I study, I will pass the exam. I studied, therefore I passed the exam. So that is modus ponens. That is not affirming the consequent. If I study, I will pass the exam. I studied, I passed the exam. Yeah, that is modus ponens. Sandra. If it's raining, the streets are wet. The streets are wet, therefore it's raining. Yeah, it could have been wet for some other reason. For example, somebody could have done street cleaning or something. Right? Really good. Pete, all basketball players are tall. If you are a basketball player, then you are tall. I'm tall, therefore I'm a basketball player. That cuts pretty close to home, Pete. My grandfather was a all-state basketball player for Indiana. He was 6'11" in the 1920s. He was a tall dude, and I'm not good at basketball. So I played volleyball. I did not play basketball. I'm not good at it. So basketball is serious business in Indiana too. So all basketball players are tall. I am tall, therefore I'm a basketball player. That is definitely a affirming the consequent fallacy. Very good, Pete. If I lay in bed, I will go to sleep. I am sleeping, therefore I'm laying in bed. True. You could be sleeping somewhere else, Cheskin. If it rains, God cried, therefore it rained. Good, Chris. If I throw 95 miles an hour, I'll strike the batter out. I strike the batter out, therefore I threw 95 miles an hour. I know. My specialty in baseball is actually throwing very slowly. I threw so slowly that the batters would swing and miss, and then my ball would kind of come fluttering in a couple seconds later. Good, Carson. If the lights were broken, the room is dark. The room is dark, therefore the lights are broken. Yeah, somebody could have just turned off the lights, right? Very good, Jeanette. If I eat watermelon, that means I love all fruit. I eat watermelon, therefore I love fruit. Noel, that is a modus ponens argument. If I eat watermelon, that means I love all fruit. I eat watermelon, therefore I love all fruit. Is this one? Ryan, if a student has extra credit, their grade will improve. Their grade improved, therefore they did extra credit. Good. That's affirmative consequence. If I have money, I'll buy a Dodge. I bought a Dodge. If I have money, good. If my computer has 8 PCI Express lanes, then my CPU is faulty. My CPU is faulty, therefore I have 8 CPI. That sucks. Like you buy a 7950 and then you only get half your PCI Express performance. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, I would definitely send it back to you, Chris. Okay. If I have cash, I'll buy food. I have cash, therefore I'll buy food. Scianti, that is also modus ponens there. If I have cash, then I buy food. I have cash, therefore I buy food. It's a direct deduction. Okay, so cut off for that one. No more affirming consequence. It is now time for you to deny the antecedent. So I'd like for you guys to now write a denying the antecedent fallacy. Okay, and I will. Oh, you already have the new CPU. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Installing a new CPU is not the worst task for sure. What is the most annoying? Probably swapping out a case. I would say a case swap is actually probably the most annoying thing. Just because you gotta unscrew so many things and unplug so many things and pull all the parts, all the hard drives out. Everything has to come out. And then, then it all has to go into the other thing. It actually is longer to do a case swap than just to build a new machine from scratch, for sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I should have just built a new machine instead of upgrading, because I eventually replaced almost everything. Everything except for my hard drive, I think, got replaced. Yeah. I mean, my keyboard and mouse and monitors, obviously. But inside of the case, the only thing that's still there is my my hard drives, my M2 SSD and the other stuff. I don't think I needed to actually do an upgrade. I could have just done a new build. Okay, so denying the antecedent, everybody. Let me pause the stream and I'll come back after I get some responses. All right, we got some candidates up there for denying the antecedent. So let's go through them. Carson. Yeah, try to put it all in one line. It's a little easier. Okay. If I go grocery shopping today, I will buy avocados. If I go grocery shopping, then I will buy avocados. I didn't go grocery shopping, therefore I didn't buy avocados. Yes, that is denying the antecedent, Laura. All basketball players are tall. I am not a basketball player. Therefore, I am short. Yeah, Pete, again with the basketball. Good job. If I go home, then I will eat lunch. I did not go home. Therefore, I did not eat lunch. Exactly. So I could have eaten lunch at work. Okay. People do that sometimes. Jeskrin, if you are smart, you'll be successful. You are not smart. Therefore, you are not successful. The real question, Jeskrin, is if it is sound. You're an idiot. If you are smart, then you'll be successful. You're not smart, therefore you will not be successful. All right. So there are plenty of not smart people that are successful. Now, intelligence is correlated with success, whatever success means, right? But yeah, you can, like, all intelligence is the rate of knowledge acquisition. And so if you just work harder, to a certain extent, you can make up for not being as intelligent, right? Like if you acquire rate, if you, like, my language acquisition rate is not good. Like most people learn languages faster than me. And so I just need to put more hours in, to be at the same place. I'm pretty good at the computer science thing, at the languages thing. Like I've studied 5 languages and I suck at it. That's why I study languages, because I want to get better at things that I'm bad at. Okay. So if you have money, you will be better off in life. I don't have money, therefore my life will not be better off, right? You could always, get a girlfriend or something like that. Premise 1. If you are a 5'1", you are short. You're not 5'1", therefore you're not short. Right, you could be 4'11" or something, right? Very good, Sandra. If I pass the test, I'll be a millionaire. I did not pass the test, therefore I'm not a millionaire. Good, Carson. If my cat loves me, aw, she'll come and cuddle with me. My cat doesn't love me, ouch. Therefore she didn't. Yeah. Painful. If I stink, I will shower. I do not stink, I will not shower. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to shower anyway sometimes, right? If I drink enough water, I will stay hydrated. I didn't drink enough water, therefore I must be dehydrated. Good. After all, you could drink Gatorade or something like that, right? If you replace your CPU, Chris is still on the 7950 salt. If you replace your CPU, you will have all your PCI Express lanes. You did not replace your CPU, therefore you will not have all your PCI Express lanes. Right. That is in fact denying the antecedent. And then Sandra, did you do 2? Okay, you did 2. If you go to college, you're a student. You didn't go to college, therefore you're not a student. Okay, that is also all right. So, we got time for one more. Let's do modus tollens. Most people don't have trouble with this one, but modus tollens, yeah. So let me pause the stream one more time, and we got like 3 minutes left. So go ahead and type up a modus tollens argument. This one's valid. Yeah, it could be valid, it could be sound. I don't care. What I care about is you guys coming up with the form of argument of modus tollens. MT. Let's see it. Pausing the stream now. All right, 9:50 in a class. So let's take a look at what we got up here. If I go to the grocery store, I'll buy avocados. I did not buy avocados, therefore I did not go to the grocery store. That is, in fact, MT. If I am really tired, I'll drink Red Bull. I'm not tired, therefore I didn't buy Red Bull. Jeanette, that is denying the antecedent. That is not MT. Carson, if Derek Carr goes to the Jets, he will be a Hall of Famer. He didn't make the Hall of Fame, therefore he didn't go to the Jets. Good. If you have a pet, you like dogs. You don't have a dog, therefore you don't like pet. That's not exactly modus ponens. So you can have a dog without liking dogs, right? It happens. Some people are allergic, but their family gets a dog anyway. That kind of stuff. If I have spare time, I'll read a book. I did not read a book, therefore I did not have spare time. Good, Matthew. Gavin Gonzalez, if I'm happy, I'll smile. I'm not smile, therefore I'm not happy. Good. You use thermal paste, your CPU will thermal throttle under load. Your CPU did not throttle under load, therefore you use thermal paste. Yes. If you study, you'll get a good grade. You didn't practice. You should probably say you didn't study. So if you say if you study, you get a good grade. You probably want to say study instead of practice, so that the things line up. But even still, Noel, that is a denying the antecedent. So you said if you study, then you'll get a good grade. You didn't study, therefore you didn't get a good grade. That's a fallacy, actually. It looks very similar to modus tollens. We have to be careful with that. If I'm hungry, I'll eat. I do not eat, therefore I'm not hungry. Good. If a dog is wagging its tail, then it is happy. My dog is wagging its tail, then it is happy. So Ryan, you just did modus ponens. Pete, if you're a good driver, you'll get your license. I did not get my license, therefore I'm not a good driver. Okay, so it's valid but not sound, I'm sure. If it's a bike, it has tires. It doesn't have tires, therefore it isn't a bike. Okay, sure. And that is class for today. So I hope you guys... Oh, we got one more here. If you like your country, you'll know the history. You don't know the history, therefore you don't like your country. Good. All right. So that is your last opportunity for participation today. Hope you guys are ready for this. The midterm opens in 2 hours. I'm sure a lot of you will jump right on it. I'll see you guys on Monday. All right. Peace.